Hey, good evening, guys, and welcome to The Purple Mic. I'm your host, Erica, and this evening I am joined by Tony Johnson.
Yo,
How are you?
doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Dr. Benjamin Moore, how are you been?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Awesome. We have the king. We haven't seen him in a minute. Lanyell Clay. How you doing, Clay?
I'm fine. How are you, Erica?
I'm doing well. Don't come for me tonight, please. No pushback. Let's just play nice tonight.
I thought it was,
We haven't had a match since Disrespect and Respectfully, so let's play nice tonight.
I'm gonna keep it clean then.
Moving up to the top of the ladies, LaShonna. How are you, LaShonna?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome back. Welcome back. I enjoyed our Queen talk the other night. Too
I
much
did too.
comedy. Yeah. Jessica?
Yeah.
I am doing well.
Do you need a moment, Jessica? Do you need a moment?
Okay.
She shouldn't have said anything.
Right. She shouldn't have said nothing at all.
Nothing.
Just let it be.
So tonight we have the fellas. We are back with a full panel. We just want to gain some perspective tonight as we talk about vulnerability. Can a man or should a man be vulnerable? And when is it too soon to talk about your past with a casual lover or husband or wife? So we are going to touch bases on a lot of topics this evening in a well-rounded discussion. Ben, I'll have you start us off this evening.
So what's interesting about the concept of vulnerability with regards to men is that it's a real taboo in the manosphere. Masculinity typically is equated to strength, and strength is typically equated to, or it's in contrast to vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? If you show any kind of weakness, emotion, and stuff like that, then a lot of times you're not considered a man. Not necessarily, mostly amongst other men. Sometimes women are cool with it, but a lot of women aren't as well. But typically amongst men, like, it's funny, men, when my partner's having this discussion, like, if you around your homeboys, you get hurt, you know what I'm saying? You'll walk it off. You know what I'm saying? You be like, I'm good. I don't need to go to the hospital. We with your girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, baby, we might, we might go to the hospital, you know what I'm saying? Because around other men, you want to show strength and not, not be weak. So, just vulnerability. And that's just physical vulnerability. And it also equates to like emotional vulnerability as well. You know what I'm saying? The types of discussions I have with my homeboys and the types of things I talk about to them, I don't talk about to y'all. You know what I'm saying? I've had individual conversations with the three of you all, and those types of conversations I don't have with my homeboys because I'm not going to relinquish the same sort of emotion to them because, like I said, just with men, we just don't. This is not what we do because that ain't strength. So, yeah.
Clay, how would you back that up?
I'm about to use a whole lot of vocabulary with it. So, but honestly, I mean, being vulnerable is fine, man. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with being vulnerable to somebody in the early stage or further down the line. I just feel like if we on a good vibe and a good conversation and certain things we feel comfortable with, I feel like I'm gonna let you know so you will have a feeling of who you're talking to. I mean, things to be vulnerable. I mean, when it comes to feelings, it's fine. But like stuff that's like your flaws, you may want to take your time to leak them out and see how they feel about that. And then you just be like, when you start dealing a feeling relationship with that person, then you just be like, hey, line up the back of my hair for me. You know what I'm saying? Just simple stuff, just to see if they're gonna mess up or not. Just anything. Now you being vulnerable and you really expressing yourself because it's a comfortability in it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think there's no problem with it, especially if somebody that you're interested into.
I know Jessica was trying to give out, when we went to the other night, Jessica was trying to give out haircuts. So y'all know, bro, if you might want to holler at Jessica, she said she was trying to give haircuts and whatnot. She asked.
Tony, what would you say about this topic?
I think that Doc was right, but I think it comes with time and experience. So when you're young, you want to be hard. You're not gonna show no vulnerability, on one side or the other. Doesn't matter if girls around or you're around your boys. You're not gonna show that. But as you get older, you realize that vulnerability doesn't make you any less of a man.
Right.
So, like at this stage in the game, I think if you're comfortable in your masculinity, whether you're with somebody or not, you're gonna let some things out. You're gonna be honest about it, and you're gonna just let them accept it for what it is. But you being you was going to be what's important, because that contributes to your overall mental health.
Absolutely.
We're gonna move up to the top. We're gonna get the ladies' perspective. Jessica, I'll start with you.
I think it's, men should be able to be vulnerable. I think that we need to kind of move away from that. Being vulnerable is weak. Listen, if your leg broken, you better tell your boys you need to go to the hospital instead of limping around and making it worse. You need to be able to. You need to be around better men if they make you feel weak if you break your leg. Like, that's no. Being in a relationship, I think you have to bring some type of vulnerability in order to be open. And so you definitely have to have an openness and a vulnerability in order for you to get a deeper connection with somebody. And sometimes women aren't as vulnerable as you think they may be. And I think that, both sides can have a restriction when it comes to a new relationship. But again, it's about building that trust, building that comfortability with each other. And then, being able to say, like Clay said, line me up. I trust you enough to not cut all my hair off my head and have me looking crazy out here in these streets. So yeah, you should be able to be vulnerable, especially with someone you're thinking about making your partner or is your partner currently. It'll be freeing for you, and then also you can create a deeper relationship that way.
So can I play devil's advocate on this one?
Of course.
Okay, for the ladies. So at what point is a man too vulnerable, and amongst the ladies you start calling him a punk ass bitch?
I mean, I think
I mean, that's real. At what point you think he's too soft? Is he giving up too much information about himself?
Yeah, I can't do that, because my thing is that if he's vulnerable for me and he's vulnerable in front of me, that means he trusts me. And so there is no way that I would be able to see him as, as a punk ass bitch, as you say. I couldn't see him in that aspect. I would very much so see him as a strong person and a strong man, for him to be able to be vulnerable in front of me and show me, that softer side of him, which I would want for him to do that. And I be that there for him, that he feels comfortable enough to show me that, but trust me enough to know that I'm not going to later on throw it back up in his face. So that would be the thing, because men do that. And I'm not saying that men aren't vulnerable, but men have been vulnerable to certain type of women. And then when they're in an argument or when, something pop off, it gets thrown back up in their face. So then it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be vulnerable with you no more. Yes, I'm going to be with
I ain't crying in front of you no more.
I'm not showing you that side of me anymore. So therefore, you saw it one time, you fucked up. Oh, well, you're not going to see it again. And that's how men are. So in essence, like, they're trusting you with that part. And it's a very, what's what I'm looking for? Fragile part of them, and if you break it, it's broken. It's broken, which means they will go somewhere else to be that vulnerable part, which means that's where that thing of, they may find another female, and that's where they kind of have like that emotional type of, relationship with someone else. So for me, no, I can't do that.
I'm not going to say that. It all depends on, not to cut you off, I'm not going to say that. It all depends on, it comes to the bond with a person and a title. So I prefer to have a bond that we make a talk a little crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be an old dog and cane situation. You acting like a little bitch right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could say this, but don't feel like she know her place to be in line, just like I know my place to be in line. But you make it be like, come on, man, I know you ain't getting soft on me right now. Like, you're not just my girlfriend, you also my partner. So we should be able to have that comfortability to, like, we could talk a little crazy to each other, like, shit, you got me fucked up right now. You know what I'm saying? And be all right with that. You know, like, what you mean? Who you talking to? Like, I'm talking to you. So, you know, don't get crazy. But I'm just saying, you know, like we should know that that's just knowing each other. You know what I'm saying? Everything gonna be no
That's some
peaches
boundaries,
and cream
man.
conversation. Yeah. So I rather, you know, you gotta have a bond. You get the title later. You know what I'm saying?
And I agree with you. Like sometimes you're gonna have those bonds where you might have like, you know, a homie, lover, friend is more the homie than
Right.
the you know what I'm saying, part where they can be like, you know, hey, tighten up. You know what I'm saying? I think any relationship you in, you need somebody need to be able to tell you to tighten up, whether that's like in your actions or your emotions or whatever like that. But I think more so what we're describing, at least what I was describing, was when you're really in those deep emotional states, you know what I'm saying, when something's really bothering you and being able to have enough enough comfortability with your woman to be able to do those things, or your boys too. Like I said, me personally, I mean, I've disclosed some things to some of my homeboys, but like I said, it's nowhere like I don't talk to my boys like I talk to women. Like it's just it's more of a loving, motherly. Like I just get a different type of energy when I talk to my female friends or my woman or whatever. I do agree with everybody's sentiments. It should be normalized where men can be vulnerable. And that's the thing. We need to normalize men being vulnerable and it be okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I got hands, I can beat your ass while I'm crying. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So me crying or whatever, showing some emotion, that ain't gonna change nothing. I can still put his hands on you. So
I have a question about that though. What if you give him that space and he's still a hard ass? Like he's still trying to keep up this front. Like, I'm a dude, I'm not gonna get vulnerable with you. Because I agree to LaShonna's point, women are vindictive, and that one fight could allow them to do something crazy. But on the flip side, for the woman who is giving you that space and he doesn't want to let that guard down, then what do you do?
I think it just comes to, or at least for me, it's just like, well, no, I think I was just gonna say like, wait. I think that the thing is like to Jessica's point, just I think it just continue to give time and reassurance. Continue to say, look, I know you might not be there yet, but just know I got this. There's a space for you, and just keep reiterating that, keep reassuring, and eventually, it said long enough, then the brother go open up. It might not be opening up in the ways that you think he might. You know what I'm saying? It might be in some subtle ways. It might be other ways that you'll kind of figure out. Like you said, you have that bond. You start to learn somebody. You'll know what their opening up starts to look like. They might get a little bit more touchy-feely. You know what I'm saying? They might not say anything. It might be, you know, nonverbal cues. It might be, you know what I'm saying, physical touch. It could be anything. So it's just
So
about being
I have another question. I mean, because now they're calling it simp, that you're a simp if you show any emotion. So for all the men that are listening to all these platforms, oh, you got to be this way. Women don't like soft men. Women don't like men who put their feelings out there. I mean, I'm just trying to understand, because that's what this society is breeding. Like they're teaching men to ignore your feelings and be the alpha.
Whatever, man.
You can
But you got to understand
be
some
an
things,
alpha.
though.
You can be an
You got to
alpha and take
understand
care of
some things.
business
So
and be vulnerable.
So to a certain degree, I would say to some of us men, women, you need to, if you have that opportunity or that window, look at his background, see where he came from, because that might explain a lot. Because some of us who had our dads around, our dads projected that. So that's what we are, and that's you're most likely not going to break that. That's because that's just inbred in us at that point.
You took that right out of my mouth.
Yeah, so you know, but because to a certain degree, I say the same thing about some men, but I say it because it's I see some of these young guys now, and they can't use tools. They can't put up a shelf. They can't put nothing together. So I'm like, is he useful other than a penis? What are you keeping him around for? That's how I look at it. But if you're gonna be a man, you're paying the bills, you're taking care of your woman, you're doing all of that, I got props for you. Ain't nothing but love for you. But to be able to open up and emotionally, yeah, that you got to do some backtracking on that. Unfortunately, try and figure that one out.
Yeah,
and for her to make that comment about you a simp, like ask you for you to make that comment, like who raised you and who you was raised by, for you to make a simple comment to say a man is a simp. Like he said, you have to know him or know his background. Oh, he was raised by his mother, or he was raised by individual uncles. Like some things he probably didn't have. Like I know I was raised by aunties, you know what I'm saying, uncles. Not my mother not there, or my father wasn't there. Like, but at the end of the day, I'm still the man. I don't think you're gonna handle the situation like that with me. So for you to use a simp, call me a simp, I'll probably just brush it off because you really don't know me. You ain't took time to know me.
Mm-hmm.
And that don't make me no soft person just because you name dropping. Nah.
Right.
Like
so let me
Facts.
move it to the ladies just for a moment. If a man is vulnerable with you or even sheds tears with you and shows emotion, is that a turn off for you?
It depends on the situation. I mean, if his mama died and he don't cry, that's gonna be a red flag to me.
Mm-hmm.
For a different issue. It really would depend. Like there are things that should bring a man to tears. There's some things that you should be able to physically be able to get all that frustration and stress out, and it comes in the form of crying. Crying is therapeutic. You have to work through it. If you crying because you got a flat tire and you didn't know how to change it,
I mean,
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it.
Women that do
no,
that.
I'm not gonna call you any
She
names,
wants
but I'm
that.
just saying,
Say it.
don't cry about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And I would say that to anybody. I would say that to a woman or a man. You know, it's like there's some situations where you just can't just cry about it and instead of finding a solution. So there are certain situations, obviously, crying is okay for anybody. And some people are more emotional than others. And, some people
Right.
don't grieve or, take death or certain situations the same way. So not everyone's going to cry, but to not even feel the loss of a parent or someone close to him.
Well, you got to understand that situation. You got to understand how they were brought up and was that parent actually there. Sometimes you may not.
No, I'm
break
just
down.
saying if that person was close to them, if they passed away, there should be some type of emotion and some type of vulnerability there, just as a natural human reaction. But for him to say, no, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to... No, like there are situations where crying is appropriate and there are situations where it's not. Simple.
Okay, so LaShonna, what about you?
I don't think it's anything wrong. No, it's not a turn off to me if a man cries in front of me. I've had men cry in front of me, lay in my lap and boo-hoo cry. And the only thing I could do was just sit there and console them. But I felt a sense of closeness with that person because they did decide to cry in front of me and laid in my lap and cried because of things that had been transpiring inside of him, turmoil, depression, all of these things, and he had no way to let it out. So when he did, I just sat down and he just laid in my lap and he just boo-hoo cried. And the only thing I could do was just sit there, console him, talk him through it, and just make sure he was okay. So no, I don't think there's nothing wrong, with the man crying. Like I said, I feel like if a man does cry in front of you or if he's vulnerable, that means he trusts you a lot. He has a lot of trust in you in order for him to do that, because they don't do that in front of everybody. Right. So if they do, just know that, that they trust you and, and that's something special for,
Absolutely.
I do. So.
I think as a woman, for me, it breaks down another wall because it's like we're getting closer, and that makes me not only trust him more, but I open up this space for him to know that he can absolutely trust in me and he can confide in me and know that it's safe. I don't think that it's soft at all. I feel like when you come back from that world out there, fighting and being a man all day, you need a place to, let your guard down and be yourself and, tell your stories or whatever happened, whatever. But
and it's just pretty much, being a piece, being his piece. Like that's what it is. It's just being his piece and being able to be that for him and not for him to be like, oh God, I got to go home. I left work and now I got to go home to some other stuff. I got to sit here and talk. It's that type of thing, because it's a time and a place for a conversation, a time and a place to have an argument. It's like, for me, and that's just me. It's a time and a place for it. So no, if you come straight home and I'm upset with you, no, I'm not going to talk to you.
Hey,
get yourself together, and then we're going to have a conversation about what had transpired between us, so we can kind of, have a meeting of the minds.
I mean, I know it's okay to cry. I'm not saying it's not okay to get stressed, and I'm not saying that it's okay, you can't cry. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, over everything, there has to be some type of limit where you, instead of crying, you figure out
But it's some work.
a solution.
Into your female anatomy, though, like maybe 24, 48 hours later, you find yourself, oh, I'm not really in the mood. I'm not turned on as much because he displayed that type of vulnerability. Does it kind of turn you off in any kind of way? Or does it make you turned on, or do you keep an evil?
Keep in mind, any one of y'all say that y'all like a man to cry, there's some tears gonna start rolling on this show.
I don't really like anybody crying, to be honest. I like people to be vulnerable. I don't, but I'm. That's a hard question for me.
Yeah, for me, it's okay. So full disclosure, just letting you know, full disclosure, okay? So with that particular person who did cry in front of me, I was like, okay, and yes, it did lead to us having sex. It did, but it was the most passionate sex I had ever had with that particular person in that particular time, because he was just that open, just that vulnerable, and so it made it easier for us to be able to do that because he was, and so I think I was more satisfied from just him opening up and crying in front of me than anything, but that was just like the icing on the cake. So I got to have my cake and eat it too.
Yes, indeed.
So for me,
all I know when we fall out, don't throw that back in my face. And my memory was
Bruh, do not. My guy. She better not.
You know it's coming. You know it's coming.
You know it's coming. So don't do that part.
But that's what I said. But that's what I was saying, that sometimes you have certain women who are vindictive and they will throw it back in your face because you guys did fall out. But if you know your woman and you know what type of integrity that she has and how she carries herself, then you know that would not happen. You know it would be the falling out of just that. And that's it, and nothing else would come back up and be thrown back in your face. So again, just like with us, we have to figure out where that guy came from or how he was raised. You guys have to figure out how that woman was raised and where she came from, because it comes from somewhere. I've heard absolutely women say, "Oh, if he cried, he a punk. Oh, if he, I can't be with no man who don't know how to do." Why? Like, I don't want to hear all of that. All I hear is all I get in my ear about what you talking about, what you don't want a man to do. And it's like, then you want a half of a man. You want a man that was raised. You want our daddy. But you want our daddy that was raised back in the day. All he had to do is go home, go to work, come home, bring the bacon, and that was it. And he had to show no emotional vulnerability or anything. He was just there.
Right.
So what if a man doesn't show emotion? And he's not vulnerable at all, and he does not convey any type of emotion whatsoever. Like, how does that make you feel, Jessica?
Next.
Hilarious.
We right here.
Next.
Right here.
Wow.
I mean, because you spend time with this person, you're trying to build a relationship, and you cannot build a relationship without vulnerability, without trust, without being comfortable, without all of those things. So if you're not acting on it, then, but again, you have to figure out where that person came from. Maybe that's not who they are. They will show some type of emotion if they like you, if they want to be with you. There will be some type of interactions between you two. It wouldn't just be you'd be digging a wall if that's the case. And then it's like, really, next, because you can't have a relationship with someone who's like that, regardless of, why this, he is the way he is or anything like that. You just can't have a relationship with someone who's like that.
Yeah. To your point, I couldn't do it either.
Yeah.
I am a very emotional person. I mean, not only just being a woman, but I want to talk about it all, and I want to live through it all. And there's a life before me, just as there was a life before you. And we both have to bring those lives together and share our shit. Which is emotional baggage, trauma, whatever.
Yeah.
But everybody can't handle that conversation.
No.
Right. And then that's why we're saying
that's heavy baggage.
I was just going to say as well, if you're not solution oriented and you're not working to fix your problems and your trauma, and you're constantly bringing that up and it's weighing down on that other person and bleeding over into the relationship, then that's when you start to cultivate issues. And so it's a fine line again, because you have that masculine energy and that feminine energy, and it's like, okay, how do we get on an even playing field? So for the fellas, is it easy to be vulnerable with a woman, or do you kind of feel like, is this safe for me to put it all out there?
That's a no for 500, Alex.
Wow.
I knew Tony was going to say no.
Don't even want to buy a vowel
we,
or something.
we haven't had
No,
every once in a while.
no, we're not buying vowels on this one. It's generally no.
I knew Tony was going to say no. Like, that was like, if you know Tony, and I knew Tony.
Okay, so understand the basic background here. As far as I'm concerned, I can't say I'm a manly man. I don't do everything manly, but still, I bust my knuckles. I work on cars, all that kind of stuff. I work on devices. So to me, in a woman's eye, I gotta be that masculine man. I don't care if it's raining outside, the tire is flat. I'm getting out there and changing that tire. I'm not calling AAA because it don't make no sense. That's just me. I gotta show that, hey, I'm dependable, I'm consistent, I'm strong, I'm right there with you. So to turn around and be able to say, okay, look, here's how I'm feeling, and dive deep into that, it's a 50-50 shot on how she takes it. Okay, she can take it real good and I can get that support. But most of the time, for most of us men, what ends up happening is she takes that and she whip his ass with it. And then he's closed off. He don't want to say nothing. He don't want to open up. And there's probably some time down the line before he even attempts to try and open up again. And it's most of the time it's probably not. It's probably not in a verbal sense that he tries to open up. He do some stupid shit like, you can hold my wrench, or let me give you my Letterman jacket, or some stupid shit like that. But he ain't gonna say nothing anymore.
So would you be vulnerable
for
with
me,
a girlfriend, or would you be vulnerable with a wife?
Well, you got to be vulnerable with the girlfriend until she becomes the wife. So you got to lead into it, and that's the proving ground.
Wait a minute, though. You're with the intention of marriage, and so if you start letting your guard down and telling her things, what if you break up? And you've told
that's one of those things you have to accept that comes along with the territory. And she's gonna forever know you like that. Because some of my exes, I'm damn good friends with them because I opened up with them, even though we're not together anymore.
Do you feel the woman needs to know everything?
At the stage that I am now, yes. I go into relationships now with women and I put it out on the table. Here's what you're getting and here's what you're dealing with. Okay, if you don't have to like it, but this is who I am, and I let her make that decision, because if I'm being honest about the situation and being honest with myself, then I give her that option to think that over. Do you want to deal with this? Do you want to deal with me? Here is my baggage. Here's what you're getting. There's going to be a bag of fuck yous in all of this, but the good is going to be outweigh the bad. We're going to go places, we're going to do things, we're going to have fun. There's going to be some, all that good stuff. But understand, in between some of that, there's going to be some me smiling and telling you F you.
And see, to something that Tony said, a man that doesn't have emotional literacy of himself or for himself is not going to have emotional literacy for his woman. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times I know a lot of women who talk about, needing a man to be supporting her emotionally. And like to somebody else's point earlier, like our fathers and grandfathers were socially conditioned to be just the breadwinners that came home, you had a beer, whatever like that. That emotional support stuff wasn't really as prevalent as it is today. You know what I'm saying? It being a kind of like a general expectation of a man. And so with that being said, we have to be, as men, have to be literate of our own emotions and our own, and aware of our own selves before we can come to y'all and be there to support y'all emotionally. So it starts with self in that regard. And then it starts with going to be being okay with, and a woman, like a lot of that is on y'all, like providing that space for the man, like verbalizing that, listen, I want you to feel that I am a safe space for you. I want to be your peace. And giving that the man that space, whether he takes it or not, whether how much the capacity he utilizes or not, just verbalizing it and be reassuring that continually. Not, I mean, you got to say it every day, but every now and then, just reminding him, like, baby, listen, I just want to let you know that if you feel like he's feeling some kind of way, I think LaShonna talked about this in another episode, like kind of knowing your partner, like kind of feeling what they feel, even if you're not around them, that type of thing. When somebody's not feeling, like even all of y'all, I can tell when y'all have different days, even the bros, like I can tell y'all, you know what I'm saying, when y'all having, you know, I can tell when y'all having different days. You just kind of have to be aware of people. And so when you're with a mate, you have to be aware of their shifts and their ebbs and flows. And just, again, really, I want to harp this again, ladies, just make sure that you're verbalizing and reassuring him, giving him that, you know, confirmation that, listen, you can talk to me about anything. I want you to feel vulnerable if you have to be. If not, that's fine too. But I just want to give you that opportunity, that space to be there.
Non-judgmental.
Absolutely. Big facts.
That's why I said,
without any repercussions.
And I asked earlier, how much information is too much information? Because
the question is how much you want to know.
And I'm not going and sharing all this information with a boyfriend. There are certain things that I'm going to wait to tell you. Now, if it's going to make a difference and it's like going to scar us by, you know, me not telling you before we marry, then that's different, you know. But if it's life altering,
but you know, y'all tend to want information you're not ready for.
Mm-hmm.
Even like, and unfortunately, even at the girlfriend stage, you know, y'all start asking questions because you're trying to get there, and I don't think you're ready for it. So you know, that's a whole nother level of things. I used to tell that, you know, when I was married to my wife, I was like, she used to ask me stuff. I'm like, are you sure you're ready for this? Because this might be heavy. It might be a little too heavy for you.
Well, we're trying to see if we're okay with it. Like, we want to know, at least for me, I want to know what I'm possibly getting into.
But that could be the breaking point of the relationship. You asking this, and he's a little hesitant to tell. You know,
that's the point. The point is to find out what this person is, who this person is. Do I want to be with them for X amount of time?
Is it a hard limit? You know what I'm saying?
If they have something that's a make or break for me, then it's a break, and we separate and we go our ways before we make a marital commitment.
We know about your break. We heard about it in the last episode. I heard your break. I heard it loud and clear.
Trust is earned. You know, so the information you release, like I said, it's not going to be anything crazy. Oh, I'm a man. Like, come on. What I'm saying, like stuff that is like really personal and endearing to you. I'm not putting everything on the front line.
Well, how long, Erica, are you waiting to get to the big part?
How long are you dating? Because if you wait for your man to show that part of you, sometimes, because men get conditioned to how a woman is, and so sometimes when you switch up, and we're like, and they're like, oh, hold up, this is not the person that I signed up for. So now you're showing me this. Where was this when we were dating? And so sometimes men are looking for that, you know, for them, like, okay, where was this at? Because like I said, men get conditioned to certain way how women are.
Absolutely.
I'm not speaking of
right, tag him in. Come on, tag my man in. Come on, let the 15 in.
I'm coming for you, Erica. I have to come for you because
character or personality. My character and personality is not.
No, that's not what I'm getting at.
I'm going to give you all of this information too soon before I know the trajectory of our relationship. If I'm already dating you, there are levels to this. As they say, trust is earned. I'm going to give you everything in levels. And then it's like a tier. We move up. But I'm not going to just drop it all. Like when you go on a first date, you don't say all this information on the first date.
No, of course not. No.
You know that's not going to happen.
We're not talking about.
First of all, she's speaking about over the time. The same time that you be asking us, so when you gonna make a commitment? You time stamping about when we show up as we a couple within 6 months in the year, but you saying you can't validate some information within 6 months to a year, but you want a commitment within 6 months to a year to know that you're the person on my shoulder. So why you can't give up some information about some of your background? We can't judge you. We can't judge you. Only your belief could judge you.
No,
camera going. Your camera going.
I didn't say not giving him information, but there's levels to growing together.
Well, it's levels to being in a solid commitment too.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'm not laying it all out at the beginning. I'm not doing that. Not with a boyfriend.
Well, what's the beginning to you? What do you consider the beginning?
you're dating a person and you feel like, okay, he hasn't made any moves. You can be dating 3 to 6 months and he's not made any moves to like show you where this is going, or you guys are even engaged yet. I'm not putting it all out there.
If you waited that long, there's some issues.
Okay, so if
It is though, but you keep saying what the man ain't doing,
One
but
at
you're
a
not
time,
talking
one
about.
at a time, because they can't hear us. Go ahead.
Okay,
LaShonna.
so you said 3 to 6 months and he hasn't made a move or a commitment or anything like that. For me, that warrants a conversation. Where is this going? Because me, I'm not wasting my time in those 3 to 6 months trying to figure out where is this going. These are conversations that we're having. We're interacting with one another. I get what you're saying. There are certain things, yes, I would not tell someone I'm casually dating.
Yes.
But whatever. I know I would not. There's certain things I would not tell that person if I'm casually dating them. But if I'm entering in a committed relationship with this person, and I feel as though I can trust you, I've watched you, I've observed you, I've watched your character, I know your integrity. All of these things make me feel like, okay, I can be that vulnerable part with you and I can tell you certain things about me. So when I do that, that gauges my reaction to see how much more I can tell you.
Precisely. That's what I said.
So that's
right. But at the same time,
see,
you can't the same way you can't. Go ahead, Ben. My bad.
Well, no, you're good, bro. I was gonna say, like, for me, it's just like I put like this: before I put a ring on your finger. Actually, I'm sorry. Before we walk down the aisle, I should know everything about you. I should not be surprised after you know what I'm saying? Like after we walk down that aisle, before we walk down the aisle, I should know there should be no surprises after that, unless it's something that happens while we were together. There should be no surprises, period. Even those like deep, dark, like your, all of everything, it needs to be fully disclosed. Like I need full disclosure before I say I do, period. You know what I'm saying? Now, where that comes at, you know what I'm saying? Whether you want to wait, like you said, 6 months, 3 months, a year into the relationship, whether you want to wait till after you guys are engaged or whatever. I mean, personally, I feel like even before, because when you start having those conversations, well, I mean, at least I did. Sorry, I was been married twice, so you start having those conversations before you actually like get the ring and all stuff, and like you talking about those things like that. While we're having those types of discussions, we getting deep like that. Oh, there needs to be full disclosure, really, before that point for me. You know what I'm saying? Like even before like you put a ring on it.
There needs to be conversations even about finance. Like, what are we coming in with this? Like, do you have any secret children hanging out in the background somewhere?
Everything, man.
You have some secret children hanging out in the background.
Yes, that's vetting. Yes. But that's before I think LaShonna.
She ain't got no secret children.
Nah,
we know that already. She ain't got no secret children.
You don't know that.
She ain't got no secret children.
You got secret cats.
That's Noxzema. It's the Noxzema.
But back to like what she was saying about how vulnerable that we can be. I feel like we being vulnerable when we just, we grab at your hand, walk with your hand, get you flowers. All that should give you some type of, look what he doing. Y'all should be paying attention like we paying attention. So we being vulnerable. We, like I say, holding hands, flowers, pull your chair. All that's being vulnerable because now you know that, okay, in your mind, he's a gentleman. I don't have to be no gentleman because we just in each other's space. You know what I'm saying? So that's being vulnerable, the small stuff. Just like with LaShonna was saying, you know what I'm saying? Over time, you start to learn and understand that person you're dealing with. You pick up on them vibes. If he ain't doing the little small things or little things to say, okay, that's a little break of emotion. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying it's a big, big extravagant of emotion, but it's a break, flowers, holding hands, pulling up your chair, opening your door on a car. That's gentleman right there. So I'm breaking emotion. I don't have to be a gentleman to you. I could just be somebody that's out with you and ready to get to know who you are. But I'm doing things to cater you to let you know that, I'm giving you steps and levels to it.
Go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
And I agree with you, bro. I want to say this because a little bit of pushback only in that I think it has to be those things you talked about, the physical things, but it also has to be conversations as well and integrity. Because if you look at the baby and Delilah situation right now, you know what I'm saying? Like she's showing videos where this dude is all in the bed with her, kissing on the lips, and they're talking about I love you and all that. They got a baby together. They've been together. He didn't left his one girl to be with this girl, and now he kicked the chick out of his, like, that whole thing is crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? But it has to be, the conversation has to be occurring. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to have very clear, like, okay, it's fine to have those defining moments, like, what are we, whatever, like that. I don't have a problem with those type of conversations because, I'm going to be honest with you about what it is or what it ain't. You know what I'm saying? Even if I'm confused about it, whether I'm confused, whether I feel this about you, whether I'm trying to figure out what I feel about you, whatever it is, whether I feel exactly this about you, if I don't feel shit, nothing about you, regardless of what it is, it has to be integrity and about that kind of situation. Number one. Number two, act those things out. You know what I'm saying? Put action behind them. After all that, it has to be integrity. I have to be a man of my word. If I'm telling you this stuff, then I need to be able to back that up. And I think for me, like with the baby Delilah situation, I think part of it's probably some conversations we had, but I think it might be some integrity stuff. I think that maybe he told her something and he ain't walk after it, or maybe he said something that she misconstrued. I don't know. I don't know them or whatever like that. But I just look at that situation. I see, like, I think that's a lot of like the gripes that women have, and even men too, to a certain extent, that, you have all this stuff going on and you somebody feel like they're getting, drug along. So I don't know.
That's all I'm saying. And you got to be careful because as Clay said earlier, you can give all of these cues, opening the door, giving me flowers, but really it's the connection. So, I mean,
The bond.
Exactly. So, moving over to the next question, life and relationship worries. And
Are they going to stick around? The basic, are you going to stick around? You know who I is now. Are you sticking around for the whole show?
I think that was my primary worry because, like I said, it's not giving them the information. It's just there's levels to this as we grow. I'm not laying it all on the table initially. We grow into this thing together. And then when we reach that destination, then we become acutely aware of, what we're doing and who we are as people. But I don't think
where along that trail are you dropping these nuggets in the relationship?
As you grow, you both catch a vibe. Like I said before, there are nonverbal cues, there are verbal cues, there are emotional, there are so many. But as you grow together, when you can tell your partner certain things. When you can, just like for a man, when you can start being vulnerable with a woman. You would not just go and be vulnerable with a woman immediately. No, you would not.
No, you're not. But at the same time, you don't know at what point you can be vulnerable with them.
Yeah. So once you know that, that's the same thing for a woman. I kind of feel like, okay, I can tell him some things too. That's just my perspective. I'm not laying it all on the line with a man like that. I'm not doing it.
You don't want to invest all this energy and emotion into, giving this part of you to somebody who,
Not only that, but it's like, let me use her emotional instability against her, and it may work to my satisfaction. There's just like
right.
Yeah. So I'm like, no, you got to use emotional intelligence. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But there's variations to that. So you're dating a guy, let's say a month into that, you kind of feeling him. You don't know if he's feeling you. So, where's that when you start tossing stuff out there trying to figure it out? And, are you ready for that basic question and answer session? Or do you like me enough to take this further? Does he like me? That kind of thing. And if he says, look, I kind of like you, but I just don't know, and all that kind of stuff. You got variations in it.
Eric, I have to agree, because with men, you can't go by cues. Like, it has to be like a verbal type of thing. And I think that's where women get messed up. It's from the cue that
communicate.
And it's the communication part, because that's where we get messed up and we get emotionally invested because, he's doing this and we're doing that and we're doing, but we haven't made a defined type of situation. Our situation is not defined. So I can't go by cues. I need to hear you verbally say, okay, yes, I want to be in this. I'm asking questions. Okay, so where are we going with this? We've been dating for like almost 2 or 3 months now. How are you feeling me? Do you feel like you can take it to the next level? Yes or no? If not, okay, cool. We can cut ties, because I have no time for you to be wasting mine. I don't want you to be wasting you to be wasting yours. So let's just cut ties. Call it a day. But
that's all in a conversation. That's just in a conversation.
I can't go by a cue, because the cue gets you messed up every single time.
Exactly.
You're not meeting my kids initially. It's the same difference. I'm not
I don't
giving
want to
you
meet him.
all of me emotionally. Different. I'm not open up emotionally to give you all of me. There's levels to this. Like they say,
Right.
trust is earned. So is my information. So as you open me up, and I'm opening you up, and we're walking through this thing, and we're getting to different tiers in this, then you're gonna feel like you can propose, like I know her and I can accept her and her baggage and her traumas and her stuff, her pathology. And then we walk down the
Right.
aisle. But until then,
Absolutely.
So that's like okay, as you take your time giving me info, that's me taking my time to know if you deserve that token to be more than just a casual friend.
Yeah, same difference.
Okay.
So basically, the
Okay.
title.
Yeah, we're growing
Yes.
through
So
this
So
together.
yeah. So I think y'all probably saying, yeah.
Yeah,
Y'all
get the
agreeing.
bond before you get the title. We agreeing, but you ain't girlfriend.
I can't believe
Ben,
it.
don't push the button. Ben, don't push that button. Don't let them know they're agreeing. Don't do that.
Don't do it.
We
Let it go.
can agree. You know what I'm saying?
No,
This is a
I
beautiful thing, man. You know, yes.
Hey. It's like watching two lions in the Serengeti.
And I'm Mufasa.
You know,
Remember that part.
oh man, that's funny.
I agree with you on that, Clay. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
I think what you're both are saying, it makes sense. Like for the woman, her trust factor is based on the level of comfortability that the man gives her, and she's going to open up with her full self and disclosing things, and the man is going to trust his full self with her and giving her the title and the comfortability that she needs. So it has to be. That's why communication is so important, because at every step, we're both looking at two different things. We have two different sorts of parameters by which we are elevating. You know what I'm saying? And so at each step, we need to be talking about each. Okay, well, this and that, and this and that, and and eventually she's going to open up and tell you her full self. He's going to open up and give you his full self and that security and title that you need. And then y'all can walk together. But I think a lot of the issue is that we don't understand those things. We're talking past each other. We're talking over or under each other, and we're not really getting to the meat of what we both want. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we're scared to put ourselves out there too. That's rough to put yourself out there like that.
Fear.
Some of us are talkative people. You sometimes, it could be just picking out the six. I pick Jessica. We probably could talk, and we may leak some of our background, but we have that chemistry because we like to talk. Then you got the ones that just observe and suck up and like to hear you talk, but don't really have much to say. That's probably what have me, in the thought process, because I'm a communicator, and I like to have someone that communicate, even if some of our background do get leaked off. You're like, damn, I didn't know that happened to you. But she feel comfortable to tell me because she know that I'm not gonna be judgmental. I'm gonna make her feel comfortable to talk to me because I'm being comfortable talking to her. So it all who you're dealing with too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
absolutely.
some
you up there
people
trying
don't
to pick
open
levels
up as quickly as other people.
Exactly.
And
Erica
so
trying to pick levels that
no,
you
I'm
may
not
go
level. I have to grow into things together, because you might find something about him that just I'm not feeling that. Like, I gotta go.
That's cool though, because I might find stuff I don't
If
feel
I
about
told him
Jessica, but
everything about me
we
and I
still
put
cool.
all in, just like, let's just cruise. And as we cruise, we'll get
So
there.
it sounds like to me like you may leak out something that might dent him and be like, oh shit, I didn't know she. It shouldn't even matter. That was her past. That's his past.
Your
You know what I'm
focus
saying?
is on the information. How heavy is the information? I said earlier,
Heavy.
not a heavy load,
So
like something that's life altering or that's going to change, anything dramatically. I'm just saying, like, deep dark.
So you was at dinner.
Example.
Am I the only one that thinks we're on Montel?
I'm sorry?
Am I the only one that feels like we're on Montel? They fighting?
If we was at dinner and we eating in a good conversation, I was like, yeah, Erica, once upon a time, I did porn for a minute. You know what I'm saying? That gonna throw your fork off your spoon. You know what I'm saying? I mean, throw your fork off your plate. Like,
if you said that, she getting up and walking out and you stuck with the bill, brother.
Like,
never hear from her again.
But this is
never hear from her again.
My past. You know what I'm saying? That's my past. Or not. I'm just being hilarious. But even if I was like, yeah, you know, I caught me a few. You know what I'm saying? I paid for some. You know what I'm saying? I've been with her. That'll make you be like, damn. So you slept with a prostitute? This way before you. What does it matter? I've been grown and elevate to know how to love now.
So I'm going to be totally transparent, and even though I'm on a public platform, I'm just going to. Okay.
Get in close, fellas. Get in close.
Okay. So just weeks ago, I received a message from my father apologizing for, it is nothing sexual, Ben. Don't be trying to. We did the whole transition. But no, just weeks
We
ago,
all tuned in.
I got a message from my father saying that he apologized to me for abandoning me as a child. And he wrote this last Sunday morning in a full text. If I then go to a guy and say, he's asking me, how did you grow up? You know, tell me a little bit about it. I'm going to give him a synopsis, but I'm not going to lay it all out on the line for him because I'm trying to discover, are you like my father? And am I, in a sense, patronizing and picking out men who are like my father, who do what my father did to me? Am I seeking men that I have to find reassurance through in an effort to make me feel reassured? I need to figure that out for myself. I'm not going to tell you that my father, you know, I went through all of this stuff and it's super deep. I want to see if that behavior pattern is alike because maybe that's my issue. And if he leaves or we have other issues with one another, then ultimately that's something that I have to deal with. I'm the common denominator in that situation. Other men, they use ulterior motive and it's like, okay, let me coddle her and placate and, you know, try and see how far I can get with this and get this emotional tie around her just so that I can have sex with her and use this emotional vulnerability against her. And you have to be that's what I mean about emotional intelligence. You have to be very careful about what you're telling people about yourself. Your baggage and your hurt can become your weakness as well.
I agree. And the thing about it is, one, I'm sorry that happened to you because, you know. Two,
Same.
I think that people have to deal with things like that before they get into a relationship. Yes. Because what's going to happen is you are going to be looking for that in every single man that comes. Exactly. So instead of looking in it for every single man, heal yourself. Do what you do, you know, do whatever you have to do, even if it's taking 5 years off from dating and just talking to your therapist and, you know, whatever you have to do is you have to heal those traumas before you take them into these relationships because they're going to be detrimental to your relationship.
Absolutely.
Completely.
You can't be in love with any man. You can't be with any
man.
Yeah,
because you're always going to be looking like for the things that you're hurt about. You're always going to be thinking about, well, did he, you know, he's like my ex and he likes the same flavor of ketchup my ex liked. Is he going to abandon me or something like that? So you really have to do the work. You have to heal yourself when you've been traumatized in order for that not to affect your relationship in a negative way. It's, you know, it's okay to have that experience. It's going to create who you are, obviously, but you can't make that the thing that is like the thing you're looking for and trying to avoid in every situation, you know, relationship.
Yeah, no, and that's by example only. If you ask me if I'm healed from that, I've had to heal from it, you know, because ultimately, you know, I had a son early. So I was in a position where it's like, how do I teach him how to be a man, you know, and using my village, my uncles, and, you know, all of the men inside of our village, whether they be, you know, spiritual elders, whatever, how do I master the level of training that he's going to need to be a man and a husband to a woman one day? I have to heal from this. Yeah. So, you know, once I did heal from it, my father came back around and it was like, you know what, I accept you for who you are. And I understand that you also have your own pathology. You also have your own shit. Yeah. I never met your parents. I never saw you at 15 in your adolescence. I don't know. So I can't sit here and judge you. All I can do is say, you know what, today I accept you. This is who you are. And I can choose to be in a relationship with you. Yeah. Now, moving forward with men, I don't place everything on the table too soon. one, there's pretty privilege. I've noticed, like, it's like, how much can I get from her? How can I play on to whatever information she's providing me so that I can, know her weaknesses and get to the panties or the draws or whatever his motive is. Two, I could have my image of what I want with this person. I have a mental image of the timeline I want to, master things with this person. And they're in a whole nother playing field. I was just kicking it with you. It wasn't even like that. So you have to be, people are not out here with open hearts, ready to love and accept you. Piranhas, sharks out here. You have to be ready to put up a layer of defense for yourself to know that, hey, I need to move into this thing in levels and tiers until I feel safe and comfortable with you. That's when I can divulge and give you information about myself.
No, I think
Well, I
that's
mean, that
I
makes
think
it
that's
comfortable for
facts.
you.
I mean, I
There's
wouldn't
nothing wrong
argue
with
with
that.
anyone who said that yes, you have to have some type of guard up in the beginning, but I'm talking about if someone, going into a relationship, taking those steps, you're moving into that place where you can become vulnerable. And so, there are certain conversations that you should definitely have before you become in a committed relationship, and there's certain conversations you have to have before you get engaged, and again before you get married. How do you do these things? How do you get to know somebody if they're always, they're not giving you any information? And I'm talking about 6 months and down the line, because I need to know that I'm not wasting my time. There's a certain level of information by the time we're 6 months, 8 months to a year that I need to know so I can make the decision of this, if this is someone I want to move forward with in the next stage.
When you get married, you still gonna know some stuff you ain't know after I do.
That's true too.
So I mean, what you gonna do then? Go back and renegotiate that contract y'all signed? Because I mean, it's basically just I'm gonna take this.
Things are still coming
You gotta
out.
know that
You're
stuff
still learning
first.
this person every day.
Man, I'm just gonna go with the path that I have made, and you know what I'm saying, ask God to lead it and make the best out of it. I'm not gonna try to find all these bits and pieces. When my inner feeling tell me it ain't for me no more, then it's just gonna be what I'm gonna follow by. It ain't for me no more. I'm not about to, do all this. Let me catch this. Let me catch that. Saying like I say all the time, you can stop at stop signs. You can stop at red flags. You just got to pay attention to them. That's all. Eventually, if you don't, you're gonna crash. So I mean, I don't want it to be that hard to deal with somebody. I want to vibe out, you know what I'm saying? And like I've always been telling you before, anybody like, man, let it catch you off guard. Let me come out and tell you, I want you to be my girl. You know what I'm saying? It could be sentimental, but now you know that it was verbally said out my mouth that I want to just deal with you. Until I don't tell I tell you that. Don't tell me about who I deal with.
I think that's another issue too, because a lot of men don't do that. A lot of men just wait. When a man is intentional, that's very sexy. But there are a lot of men who aren't intentional because they're just trying to see where things are going, and
which is fine, but just say that. It's like, I think Ben said it earlier. If you're confused, say you're confused.
Yeah.
That's an appropriate answer as well. It doesn't have to be always, oh, I want you to be my girl, or I want you to be this. It could be like, I don't know right now. I'm just feeling you out. I'm feeling out myself, how this relationship's going to work. Mm-hmm. Those are very appropriate answers as well.
So Ben and I produced this episode together. Ben, when you talk about self-improvement, what did you mean by that?
So I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but after every relationship, I kind of take stock and inventory of who I was before and who I was after. And then I think about like what I learned from the relationship, that type of thing. And so I was just interested to see, number one, does anybody else do that? And two, like what are some of the things that, you have kind of discovered about yourself after a relationship, good or bad? I know I critique myself. I critique myself much more than I praise myself a lot of times. For those who really know me, what I'm saying, I'm much harder on myself than, a lot of people are or should think I should be. But at any rate, I've noticed, like, for instance, my last relationship, I accept things a lot more than I probably should. Or at least that relationship showed me that I accepted a lot more than I should have. You know what I'm saying? And the relationship extended far beyond what it probably should have. You know what I'm saying? Which is something that both myself and my former wife talked about, that we realized that the relationship should have stopped way before. And there was a lot of things that I literally said that I would not accept before the relationship, and I actually accepted. So one thing that I,
Mm.
realized after the relationship is like, all right, I need to stick to my guns. Like, certain things, if I say I ain't gonna deal with that, then I shouldn't deal with it. Like, no matter how much I care about somebody, no matter how much I, what I'm saying, trying to be a good dude or all that kind of stuff like that, I need to stick to my guns. And it's hard because when you with somebody, man, and you really care about them, even when you don't want to maybe disclose that you care about them, and you do, what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to like not do for them, not to, be selfless. What I'm saying? I realized I was maybe more selfless than I should have been, and cared about, others' well-being at the expense of my own. That's one thing that's one critique of myself after post relationship. Well, a good thing that I kind of found about myself is that before the relationship, I knew exactly what I didn't want. And now after the relationship, I know exactly what I do want.
That's super dope, because I feel the same thing too. Like, after my marriage, I do feel like I was so giving and nurturing. I think, LaShonna, you asked me that in our Queens conversation. Someone asked me that. Do I find myself over giving inside of?
I did. I actually, we both did.
Yeah, we were like, this sound, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that took a toll on me once I got divorced. I'm like, I don't think I could ever love that way again. And if I do, that man would have to show me that he is totally like
worthy of that.
Yes. Because I mean, when you look up and you realize, wow, you're empty nester and you're divorced. While it can sound like a bad thing, it's not, because two people don't always have to work. But you look up and it's like, but damn, I did pour in a lot. I gave a lot of myself, a lot of time, energy.
Right.
But yeah, that's huge. And I think the self-improvement in that for me has always been just prayer, because that's the restoration and knowing that, you know what, it's okay to be selfless. That's being Christ-like. That's what you're supposed to do. You're in your purpose. So, if that person is not deserving of it, doesn't mean you won't find the person that is. So that's the reassurance for me.
So every relationship I have, I've been a firm believer of, like Ben said, you take stock of yourself, you figure out what you did right, what you did wrong. I think that's a normal thing that everybody should do. Granted, we know everybody doesn't do it. So when I got married, I told my wife, I said, you're getting the accumulation of all that I have learned from past relationships.
Mm.
You're getting the best version of me that I know I can give. And that's what I did. I proceeded to give her the best version of myself. Everything was open. You can go through the phone. You can go through the laptop. You had access to everything. All I asked her to do is, hey, if you find something that you think is unsuitable, come and talk to me. Don't assume anything, because I can explain anything that's there. My phrase always has been, I'm a grown-ass man and I can speak for myself. So if I'm doing something I ain't supposed to be doing, I'm going to admit to it, because, hey, no sense in lying, you didn't call me. But if I'm not doing nothing, if it's harmless, I'm going to tell you, hey, this is the backstory behind what you saw. And this is why I can understand why you feel that way. So after giving all of that, I mean, I literally quit my job to stay home with the kid after she gave birth to be a stay-at-home dad. And she abused that. She abused it to no end. And I realized that, okay, I missed some things along the line here. And I really realized I shouldn't have married her. Some things I missed, and I couldn't figure out what I missed. And it took me a while. And when I settled on what I missed, I realized she kept those cues hidden, and she let them out once we got married. She showed who she really was once we got married. And so now that I know, I can't say the next woman is in trouble, because I think I walked into it with the right frame of mind. Leave everything open and let's figure it out at that point. But I'm a lot more guarded because I got my daughter now, and there's an image that has to be portrayed. And the last woman I was talking to, I told her, I said, look, here's how this goes. And understanding my daughter comes first, and you got to deal with her mama. Out of respect, I'm gonna have you talk to her mom out of respect. If you're gonna be in my life, you got to understand my daughter's there. She's first, You're going to have to deal with her mom. So you're going to have to talk to her at some point in time. So that's where I'm at in the accumulation of learning who I am and trying to figure out this whole relationship thing. And the crazy part about it is that open and honest policy. I found that most women can't handle that. They think that's just the craziest thing. They want it their way.
Define open and honest policy.
I lay all my cards on the table. This is who I am. This is, like I said, you're going to get some fuck yous in here. But at the same time, I let you know where your place is in my life at the present moment. While we're dating, as long as we slowly getting serious and seriouser, understand that, hey, my daughter still is number one. I have to look out for her. My decisions that I do, right or wrong, affect her. So she's number one. And you're going to be number two, but I need you to be a strong number two for me because your priorities are going to have to slowly lean toward my daughter. I have to project a certain image to her.
Going back to your wife earlier, were those character flaws, Trevor? Those
were some heavy character flaws that she kept hidden. Yeah. And when we were in the midst of the divorce, not to be vindictive or anything, but I sat there and I told her. I said, you know what? I said, you remember that night when we were sitting down and we were talking? I told her the restaurant and everything. I said, and your exact words to me were, I don't need a man. I can do it myself. I said, that's what told me, right? Those words told me that you don't need me. We can be a team because you don't need me. And that's why I got on board with her. If you're a woman that can stand on your own 2 feet and you can tell me to my face that you don't need me, that means you want me. I'm not a necessity to you. I can handle that.
Wow.
Never. And I always told my wife while we were married, I said, never forget, there was a you and there was a me before there was an us. Never forget that, because I can always go back to being me and you can always go back to being you. But she never quite got that. I guess she never wrapped around. She never thought deep enough into it. And she just kept certain things hidden. And once we got married, she slowly let them things out. And I was like, oh, in my head, you being vindictive and you're like, oh, this motherfucker right here. Look at this motherfucker right here. If I'd have saw this, if she would have told me who she was in the beginning, I would have backed off. I jokingly say now that I probably should have just knocked her up and not married her. But so I could have my daughter and not have to deal with her and all other BS. But definitely you should learn from every experience that you take, good, bad, or indifferent, because I've had some strange ones. But that one just took the cake. But I guess after all of that, it makes you think, do you really want to get married again after that? And that's kind of where I'm at. I meet a lot of women that had something like that situation, and they rethink that whole marriage thing. They're like, I don't know if I want to get married after being through all of that. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm willing to give that woman that open door policy, but I don't know if I want to be married again.
It has to be someone who is totally deserving. And it's not baggage. It's not emotional baggage. It's just like you just said, you just have to be worthy because you know what you have to give and it needs to match. You're absolutely right. How do you find the self-improvement post-divorce?
I mean, if I'm going to be honest, then I don't really think there's any self-improvement needed because as from my standpoint, I was doing everything right. Even though for the most part I was a stay-at-home dad, I still found time for a part-time job. I was cleaning the house, washing dishes. Well, I wasn't washing dishes because I'm not doing that. But I separated and washed clothes every week, folded and dried, kept the house clean, and I had the kid with me most of the time when she was younger. So I was doing all of that. I'm doing everything right. I'm always home. But yet she always found time to try to tell me that I'm cheating on her. And I'm like, really? How I'm going to squeeze another woman in my life if I'm doing all of this? How? Tell me. She could never give me an answer because she knew it was BS. But that's the kind of stuff she would throw out there at me. So at this stage in the game, I'm like, I'm not sure if I needed to improve anything. Because if I feel like I was doing everything right, but somebody else was accusing me of doing wrong, what was I doing wrong?
Well, I mean, the self-improvement now that she's gone. How does Tony look at Tony every day, and how does Tony move on and navigate through life?
I just
That's
move.
what he's saying. I'm just. He said the same old OG.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same program. I'm one body less.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have nobody that I have to drag along with me. I have to make somebody do something that they don't want to do. I don't have to come home and feel like, damn, I got to come and deal with this motherfucker in the house.
Right.
You know, so it's like
the person.
Yeah, the person, she was holding me. I realized she was holding me down. She was holding me back, and I realized that a lot of things were no with her, or it was a silent no. And I coined that the silent fuck yous. You know, I was like, okay, let's do this, and she'd be quiet about it, and that was her way of saying fuck you. I'm not doing that. And I was like, okay, so at what point? What do I have to reflect on if I'm trying to do everything right? But you making it seem like I'm doing everything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What is there to build off of and improve?
Right. Well, a beautiful example and strength by both of you in knowing what your worth is and moving on from situations. I won't call out the people, but situations that don't serve you. Clay, in conclusion, how do you find your self-improvement daily in moving forward in your life?
I mean, I just stay focused. You know what I'm saying? We speak on like the past relationships. I mean, I just take them as lessons. I know the next one that I meet, I don't bring that baggage within. It just reset itself. Even though from those past relationships, pay attention when you was vulnerable. Pay attention to where you almost felt like you was gonna hurt yourself. Pay attention to things you could speak up and just be like, I ain't going for it. That's my ground. Because I'm like, if I ain't put you in that mind state to do that or showing you some negativity, then why are you doing that? So instead of going through all the emotional conversations about and trying to figure out, just look, man, I'm not even for it. Just leave it where it is. And we can still be cool, but it's just, you're not gonna get that extra more out of me than what I felt like I stood by to say I wasn't gonna let that happen no more. So I just pay attention to what I deal with in relationships now, or people, individual that I'm dealing with, that I'm not gonna allow certain things I allowed in my last relationship. As long as I'm feeling happy within self first and moving how I want to move, and don't have to worry about this person doing that person doing this, and I'm fine with or without. At this point, I just feel like that person got to really want me. I ain't no problem me wanting you, because we already praying out looking for that one, but that one that wants you and just you, that's the stuff I pay attention to. It's like, mess with who mess with you. But then I'm cool. I'll talk to you like you a sister ain't come out of my mama. So I basically just bleed everything out. And I feel good about it. I ain't holding nothing back.
So. Real quick, something else in hearing what Clay said, and it actually pick it back to something he said earlier as well. Like for me, one of the biggest things, like I'm still to this day, like I'm looking like I ignored the red flags. You say, I think what you say, bro, like if you could stop sign, stop at red flags. Is that what you said? Is that was your quote? Was that your quote?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so I know for me, I did that. Like I saw a lot of stuff that, and I just, again, being just being like, I get stupid in love sometimes. I get real dumb when I'm in love. You know what I'm saying? And I saw stuff happening, and even it's funny because like I even felt like we have had a spiritual conversation lately, but I even felt like the universe was like telling me, bro, like nigga, just chill. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, this ain't for you. And I still, because I'm trying to, because of certain aspects, I still did that. I think another big thing is like trusting my intuition, trusting the universe, and being obedient to the things that I'm hearing and I'm seeing, and my intuitions and the universe and all that stuff, like being obedient. So that's another big thing.
You ain't got to force your love, man. Love don't have to be forced. It naturally happens. So that's big thing. You ain't got to force your love on nobody.
Right.
It's important that you understand yourself, because if you don't understand yourself, you're not going to know the things that, what I say all the time, your make or breaks. And if you find a break, hit the road. They're your breaks for a reason. You know what I'm saying? They're the things that you can't do, don't want to do, and shouldn't have to do. And you should listen to yourself and say, hey, this is a break. Get on about it instead of trying to, you know, maybe this person will change and maybe I can do this. And
or taking it on like a project. Like,
yeah. And so,
Facts.
or you start questioning your breaks. Like, is this really you just start making up excuses for all of these things when it's like
Or you think people need you. You might think people, you know, they need you.
You
know
like,
like
if I leave this person, they're gonna, you know, something bad, you know, is gonna happen to them, or, you know. And so I'm like, if you find something that you know is something that you shouldn't be doing or don't want, you need to get up out of there. Don't be wasting anybody's time.
Well, guys, that was an amazing conversation. I don't know what happened to LaShonna. I think her connectivity got lost. So
yeah, she has some tech issues.
She's back now.
Hi.
Professor late to class.
No,
I
right.
hate technology. Sometimes it is not my best friend.
Well, you're late. The show's over. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for showing up at the last minute.
We want to thank all of the viewers watching and all of the viewers who stayed on for the full episode. If you haven't already, please head over to our Instagram and our Facebook to see the bios and to get to know some of the panelists here at the Purple Mic. LaShonna, Jessica, Clay, Ben, and Tony, thank you so much for your time tonight. And we will see you guys in our next episode here at the Purple Mic. Good night, guys.
Night.
Good night.
Whoa, now.